Israel Kamakawiwo'ole is the most famous Hawaiian ukulele player of all time. The year was 1988, and it was late at night at 3 a.m. when Israel, also called Iz for short, suddenly needed to record a song on his ukulele. He had a friend call a local studio in Honolulu, but the engineer working that night, Milan Bertosa, said he was about to close up shop and go home. But Iz got on the phone and with a little persuasion was given the okay to come over.
And in walks like the largest human being I had seen in my life. Israel was probably about 500 pounds. I put up some microphones, do a quick sound check, roll tape, and the first thing he does is Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
5 minutes and 8 seconds of recording was all it took to capture magic and create the most iconic ukulele hit of all time. Believe it or not, after recording Over the Rainbow, it remained unheard until 5 years later in 1993, when Iz was working on his solo album, Facing Future. The same engineer from that night, Milan Bertosa, happened to be working at the studio and proposed adding Over the Rainbow to the new album. Impressed, Iz's producer and manager, John DeMello, agreed, and Facing Future went on to become the best-selling Hawaiian album of all time. The story behind the song is pure magic, but I can't help to wonder, how does a spontaneous late-night recording of a man and his ukulele skyrocket to become the most popular ukulele cover of all time? For starters, we know it's not because of any fancy recording tricks. Iz sat down, they rolled tape, Iz started to strum, and according to the engineer that night, the song was captured in just one single performance.
What I do is, it's minimum effort, but maximum pleasure.
What is it specifically about Iz's Over the Rainbow performance that's just so magical? His producer John DeMello pointed to one thing in particular.
He was an elementary player. He just didn't play in a lot of different keys or a lot of fancy stuff, but boy, could he find the groove with the strum and the element that takes the listener on a voyage, okay?
When I first learned this song, I'll admit, I made the mistake thinking it must be easy just because Iz played it using the most beginner ukulele chords. And the recording sounds simple at a first listen, but when I would try to strum it, it sounded nothing like him. The way Iz strums is deceptively masterful and can be difficult to replicate. There's a feeling created by the strumming that makes this song magic. The first thing you notice when you hear Iz start to strum is that he's playing a tenor ukulele tuned with a low G string. There's definitely some magic to the low G tuning, but the strumming technique is where things get really interesting. At the surface, the core strumming pattern used to play this song is known as the calypso, or island strum, one of the most popular beginner strumming patterns for ukulele. But what you might notice is if you just play this regular old pattern, it really sounds nothing like Iz. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a... Kind of familiar, but not really. Iz takes this basic strum, but then takes it to a whole other level. Part of the feeling you get listening to this song is one of ease, like everything's gonna be alright. The strum is constant throughout the entire song. It never stops, but it's not forceful. It's light, it's effortless, and it's like the fingers are just dancing on the strings. A big reason for this is because of Iz's style and technique. He would often use the thumb and index finger in his playing, switching from beautiful strums to intricate finger picking. And in another performance, we can see him plucking with the thumb and strumming while keeping a relaxed, open hand. So for Over the Rainbow, it's likely he used a similar technique. What we can hear in the recording is that he definitely used the thumb by replacing the first down strum of the island pattern with a thumb pluck of the top low G string. And then strum down and up with the index finger. The pattern played slowly sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, thumb down up down up, thumb down up down up, thumb down up down up, thumb down up down up. But that still doesn't quite sound like is. What we need to do next is add a rhythmic pulse to the rhythm by accenting the and of the beats, by strumming those strums just a little bit louder. Is does this with ease, all while making sure his thumb pluck isn't overpowering the other strums, so he plucks more softly with the thumb relative to the other strums. To practice this, play slowly and focus on really exaggerating the and of the beats. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. Things are starting to come together a little more, but our rhythm is still sounding too stiff and robotic. It doesn't have that ease like is. The secret to create more of an island feeling is to add swing to the rhythm. This is where the down strums are held for roughly twice as long as the up strums. So this effect creates one of almost hesitation between the beats. Let me play this pattern without swing first so you can hear the difference. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. Now let's add swing to give it more of an island feel. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. That's starting to sound a lot better, and while we're still not there yet, the rhythm is starting to take shape and groove just a little bit more. The magic of Iz's strumming on this song is how he's automatically layering a lot of technique and ideas into his rhythm. Something that drove me crazy when I was listening to the recording of Over the Rainbow is that it sounds like on beats 2 and 4 of the pattern, where there are no down strums, like there's almost a percussive sound. At first I thought maybe this was some kind of slap or mute of the strings, something like... But I don't think that's it. If you listen closely to the recording, you can definitely hear the strings continue to ring out on this beat. Hearing this made me think back to what we can observe with Iz's style of strumming. Something he does is, although he's strumming with the index finger, he keeps the remaining fingers in a relaxed open hand position. So what I wondered is it possible he's taking the middle and ring fingers and tapping them on the top of the ukulele? I think so. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. By doing this, you get that percussive effect while keeping the strings ringing out. And if you play that up to speed, this percussive tap on the top of the ukulele really adds a lot, but just keep in mind you'll want to play around with the dynamics. You don't want this percussive tap to be too loud. Think minimum effort, maximum pleasure here. Iz, in effect, is strumming his ukulele, but with a rhythmic, percussive, or drumming component. I think this is really cool, and it shows how Iz is a master of his instrument. He understands the rhythm deeply, where it's just part of his fingers, and he layers multiple techniques to create a really compelling strumming rhythm that carries the song. But there's still one more thing that Iz does with this pattern to really make it groove. By the way, I've put together a PDF worksheet summarizing the strumming pattern we've covered so far. If you want to get that cheat sheet so you can practice this in your own time, then click the link below this video and I'll send it directly to your inbox. So yeah, Iz adds one more touch of variation to the strum. We can hear this immediately at the beginning of the song. In this first measure, he strums the C chord and he plays this pattern we've covered so far. 1 and a 2 E and a. But then on beat 3, where he switches to the E minor chord, he starts to add what I'm going to call a ghost pick. It's almost like he's bringing the thumb to the top G string and index finger to the C string, like he's going to finger pick the strings, but then he rolls off with the wrist. 3 E and a 4 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. When I was first doing a deep dive into this track, I had thought maybe his index finger is just so relaxed with this technique that it's sort of accidentally touching the C string for certain chords. And while I think that could be the case, it's just so consistent throughout the entire song, and it's done with so much control, which makes me think this is just part of his sort of hybrid strum and fingerpick kind of style. It's kind of insane to me how much is going on with what is supposed to be just a classic island strum in some basic ukulele chords. When you practice all these things and bring it up to tempo, it's gonna sound something like this. Now, even as I hear myself play this over the rainbow strum pattern, I have to be honest. I think it's there, it's solid, but there's just something to be said about Iz's dynamics and feel, which are really just next level, and it's what makes Over the Rainbow such a hit and gives it that extra magic.
Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly.
When you play ukulele, this groove is everything. It's what holds the song together, and Iz is an absolute master at this. And this is just the ukulele playing. The real magic of this song is how this playing comes together with Iz's voice. Del Beasley is a musician who grew up playing music with Israel and recalls the first time he heard him sing.
They set up with instruments that were kind of beat up. In fact, one of the ukuleles was held together with bubble gum. What happened was, as soon as Israel Kamakawiwo'ole opened his mouth and sang, that whole place went quiet.
The ukulele is an instrument that connected Iz with this Hawaiian culture, but it's his voice that really moves us. Even the moment towards the end of Over the Rainbow, he vocalizes away from the melody and kind of does this really fun ooh-ah-ah riff. So it might be 3 a.m. in the morning, but one thing's for sure. Israel is going to be having fun with his ukulele. There's the virtuosity of the player, and then there's just the pure joy of being alive. And Israel had both. At the surface, Over the Rainbow is one man's ukulele cover mashing up two popular songs, but when you take a deeper look, you find the magic of this song is in how it was recorded, the technique and feeling in which it was played, and the person who was Israel Kamakawiwo'ole. All these things come together to create pure ukulele magic. And if you want to learn how to strum your ukulele with magic, then I want to invite you to join me in my Strumming Tricks online course over at ukuleletricks.com, where I take you from complete beginner to proficient player. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.